Hey guys, I'm Yagi Shatini, and today we're going to go over making dynamic footsteps inside of Unreal Engine. So just quick example, footsteps will sound normal default, and then depending on the material you walk on, you'll hear the difference based on the surface types you have in game. So it's super simple, um, but let's go over it. The first thing you need to do, of course, is know what surfaces you want your sound to change. Now, do note you could change more than just audio with this system. So, all we're going to worry about now is from the sense of audio for different footstep sounds, but just know that this can do a lot more. So, if you go to edit and then project settings, you just want to look for surface, and you're going to find under engine physics, physical surfaces. This is like the important thing, honestly. You'll see a huge list that goes up to 62. Likely won't need all of those, but you just want to start putting in whatever surface types you might have audio for. I find it better to overshoot at first, dynamically adding things later. Say you add like 5 surface types is super simple, but here you'll see I've just put concrete, dirt, grass, and then the rest are set to none so the engine isn't going to pick them up. But if you wanted glass and puddle, and you could again add whatever you want inside of these, and then that's all you need. You also see this default one, so like we'll see in a minute, if something isn't tagged, it will always kind of go back to default. So if 90% of your game is sand, you don't have to tag all the floor as sand. You just leave your default there. So the other thing you need to do once you have your surfaces set is just make a folder for physical materials, right click, and then you just want to make a new physical material, name it whatever you want. I'll example, let's say this was, well, I'll say sand since that was the example I gave. Um, you just make it here and then make your sand. When you double click it, you'll get the physical material window, and really a lot of these I don't touch. A lot of these inputs here will affect like more so gameplay itself, but what matters here is under physical properties, surface type, you're going to have a drop down of whatever you put into your project settings. So if you're not seeing what you want, then again, make sure, like I don't have sand here because my project settings doesn't have sand. So just make sure you put them in whatever they are. So if we look at my grass physical material, it's set as grass. I didn't change anything else inside of those. So let's just delete this. Now, what we need next is to actually play something from it, right? So as far as audio goes, I just have Metasounds for each physical surface type. Now, I'll start with my concrete one. All of them look identical. You do need different Metasounds for them. So I just made a footstep Metasound patch, which is actually just I need to input the array of my different audio sources, and then it's gonna play a random one of those, and then it outputs the sound. I do have this randomizer here just for a little pitch randomization. You don't need this, but it helps save you some space and not have to add 10 footstep variations. You could easily get away with like 3 or 4 and add a little pitch variance to help that out. So that's my Metasound patch for the footsteps. And then each of them, again, they just have the array. Each of these have 4 footsteps, just different variants for each surface type inside of their patch. Okay, so that's all the Metasound is, right? It's super straightforward. You don't really need Metasounds for this. You could just do default sound arrays, but I like having Metasounds for those things. So now our goal is when we stand on an object that is tagged with the physical material. So if say we click this floor, and I scroll down to collision, physical material override. And here's where you attach the physical materials we made earlier, right? You make each of these, and it's basically telling the object when it steps on this, when your character steps on this, make sure you're reading that this is grass. I added like a default grass texture to it, but you don't have to actually add textures. Like this ramp right here, I did override it with concrete, but it's just your default cube texture. All right, so now that we have like the detection, well, not the detection set, but like we have what we need to see, we need a way to actually see it with our character. So in my third person character blueprint, this is all just default or Unreal Engine stuff, so I'm just using their default third person character along with their default Quinn animation blueprint. So if you have your own game, then this will just happen wherever your character is. I made an actor component in my character because that's what's going to be detecting the surface. And then let's take a look at that. So here is my footstep custom event. I'm getting actor, right, my third person character, and I basically just need a line trace to go from my character to the floor. You'll see what I'm firing right there. So that way I'm just seeing what's below me and it's reading that material back. So I'm getting my actor location, and that's where I'm starting. And I just did minus 100 Z axis. I think with this character itself, it's like around minus 95 or something to actually hit the floor. You could do minus 500 Z, whatever you want from your actor location, because that's in the center of your object. You just subtract enough to actually hit the floor. So once you have that line trace firing, so again, it's going from my actor down to the floor, I'm outputting my physical material, right? So I want to pull out of out hit using that break hit, right? You get this whole list of stuff that you can find and use. A lot of times you'll be using a number of these components for some other systems, but what we care about is the physical material and then our surface type. Now, you don't actually need the break hit here. If you pull off and just get surface type, this also works. I just wanted to show how the whole break hit result, you can grab a number of different, results from inside of here. Now, once you have your surface type, that you're going to be doing your select from, right? So our select node, which I have up there, that's what's going to tell my Metasound what to play. So I know I want my surface types to populate. And once you put your get surface type or your break hit for physical material, once you get that into the select node, it auto populates with whatever you have here, right? For me, I had concrete, dirt, grass. If I go back to project settings, surface, let's say I realize, okay, now I do need sand. Let's add that in, save it, recompile. Do I have to do that? Oh no, I have to close it and then reopen it. Ooh, let's go back. Blueprints, footsteps. Oh, surface types. Maybe you just redrag it, and then it repopulates there. So you don't have to really redo anything. You're just gonna need to reattach the sound. And then I have a play sound 2D, and once you attach there, it's gonna know, okay, now under all of these selects, what do you want to play? And in my case, I want to play Metasound concrete, Metasound dirt, and so on. Again, here you could just put a single audio asset if you don't want to deal a lot with randomization. You don't need all that, then that's fine. But in my case, I'm using the Metasounds. So if you're not dealing with all this break hit result stuff and grabbing more than the surface type, then again, just pull off of your out hit, get your surface type, and then that's all you need to do. And then this is basically telling the game when my line trace hits the floor, if it sees dirt, play this sound. If it sees grass, play this sound. And I just have this debug at the end here, making sure that it is seeing the proper surface type. So that's it, right? Like at this point, it's firing off and you're getting that line down. Now, the final thing is just actually seeing these line trays, because at the moment, like this is just a custom event. It's not actually firing. So if I go to my animation blueprint, the way I like doing this is making a notify. So I have my run forward. This is like the default Quinn used thing. If your game has different types of runs and landings and stuff like that, you'll have to go in and add notifies wherever you want the sound to play. So I have a notify lining up when each foot, right, left, right, left. And I just labeled this test. Of course, you should label it something that makes sense for you. I made a track called footsteps, and then I should label this footsteps SFX or something. So this is just a blank notify. That's all it is. My animation blueprint, notify. Once you actually have your like notify set, then that's what makes an event off of it. Oh, where do I go here? So in my animation blueprint, notify. Right, so it would call this anim notify test. Let's say I made a new one example, add notify, new notify, YouTube. Right, so then I would go to my animation blueprint, and then you could add a notify event to make it. It's always going to have anim notify because that's like what you made it off of. And then once it plays back on this location, this YouTube event's going to fire. But obviously I don't need that one, so we'll delete this event. From here, this all comes with Quinn and Manny, so I just cast to the third person character using this pawn owner, and then as that third person character, right, we made the actor component. At that point, you're going to drag off and call whatever actor component you made for where your footstep blueprint is happening. In my case, again, I just dragged off of this and typed footstep, because well, it would call the whole event, but yeah, because I named the event itself footsteps in AC footsteps. So just make sure whatever you name this event is what you're going to call from this blueprint, from your actor animation blueprint. And then I have two here just because I'm doing a separate one with Wise, but ultimately this wouldn't exist for the purpose of doing it in Unreal Engine. And it's just saying whenever I hit this notify called test, I am going to fire my footstep, which the footstep itself shoots the line trace at the ground and plays the sound depending on what surface type I see. So very simple method of doing footsteps in general. It just, you have to make sure all the moving parts are actually working. You're detecting the floor properly. I found most often if I were messing something up, it's just generally this test not firing. So always make sure you add a print string just to make sure the notify is firing, just to make sure it's seeing the proper floor, right? Debugging things properly is really important. But that's all when it comes to making footsteps inside of Unreal Engine. Like I kind of hinted at, I will be doing a separate video of doing this inside of Wise, a very similar process and setup. This overall, line trace to the ground, that's going to be used for like a million different things. So the only difference with that will be actually putting the sounds in Wise and doing the playback properly. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.